Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the Solonerdbirdpod podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with the creator and writer of the comic series Avalon, Brandon Starocci, here to promote issues 1 through 5 now live on Kickstarter. Welcome, Brandon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
But
for having me.
outside my introduction, who is Brandon Starocci in his own words?
Brandon Struck is just a normal guy. I'm just a normal guy that likes creativity and all that stuff as well. Big into movies, big into film, and just recently, obviously, since I started this comic book, I've been really big into the comic industry and just trying to read as much as I can. But normal guy who's just trying to make something creative.
Mm-hmm. And what is Avalon, the comic series, about?
Avalon is about disarranged kind of castle family that you meet, and that's set in this zombie apocalypse. Early on, you kind of meet this family, and immediately you kind of see that they're like I said, disarranged. They're all over the place. It seems like a lot of stuff has happened in the past, and there's a family member, the oldest brother Andy, that's kind of away right now, and it seems like he's been gone for a while. A lot of that stuff will be touched in issues to come, but a lot of chaos has been happening in their life before this the apocalypse starts, and then the apocalypse hits them. So it's just kind of like craziness, and then even more craziness on the other side. So just basically them trying to get together and put their differences to the side for a brief moment so they can find safety.
Uh-huh. And I understand issues 1 through 3 have already been published, but the
Yes.
Kickstarter, so you're promoting all 5 of them, but the Kickstarter is mainly to push the issues 4 and 5. So
Yes.
I guess, what should readers that have already read 1 through 3 expect from 4 and 5 of the
A,
series?
yeah, a lot of answers, so there's a lot of there's a big question, especially at the beginning of issue, or at the end of issue 1, sorry, that one of the characters gotten bitten, and then obviously it's kind of inevitable what was going to be happening here with that character. And we posted a lot of the dramatic scene that Dimitris kind of drew up and kind of illustrated for everybody on the Kickstarter, because it's not too much of a spoiler. If you read it already, you kind of know it's coming, but the reason we decided to go that route is to really show what it's like to get bitten and what happens to an individual when they do get bitten. And but as I said, a lot of answers are going to be kind of there from all the questions that have been asked, from the last 3 issues as well. We kind of did a different kind of style with the first 2 issues, and kind of splitting it up story wise with the family on one side and Andy and Miller on the other side. And then issue 3 kind of focused on Andy and Miller's story there. And then you kind of get that same thing going forward. Issue 4 will be a more of a focus on the family, kind of where they left off with the end of issue 2. And then, you'll see if they kind of link up in issue 5. So a lot of answers will be coming out of these next 2 issues.
Mm-hmm. So could you just elaborate a little bit more on the creative process on Avalon as a whole, from just a thought in your head, so working on it throughout however many years to now promoting it through Kickstarter?
Yeah, it's been an idea of mine for many years. Since senior year in high school, I've had this idea. I've been a big fan of the zombie genre as a whole, and the question that kind of stemmed from all of this that led into making this project is, how would I survive, or how would I pan out in the zombie apocalypse and all that stuff too. So me at in 12th grade, not knowing what to do at all, not knowing anything, I just kind of threw it in a tote and almost forgot about it for a while until I met Alan. We were kind of working on a creative kind of collaboration there. He was doing some music stuff on that side. I wanted to do, like, writing a lot, all that good stuff. And then I pitched the idea to him. He really liked it. So then we kind of just took it from there. And it took like a good year or maybe and a half to kind of build the world and build, the infected. We wanted to kind of ground this world in as much reality as we could. After time goes on, we figured out, and then we move into writing. It was going to be a novel, and then I'm someone who doesn't really like to read on a lot of words on a page. So I looked over on my desk at the time and saw the Walking Dead comic, and I shot him a text at that moment asking him if we should do this as a comic instead of a novel, and he liked the idea as well. So then we just kind of took off from there.
Uh-huh. I think everyone kind of, when they look into post-apocalyptic, comics or novels or what have you, or even TV shows, Last of
Mm-hmm.
Us just came out, and everyone imagines how they would handle something like that. I was like, we kind of already did go through that a couple of years ago, and I'm like, you all didn't handle it that well. So
Well,
nobody was getting bitten, it was, but still,
something
you
like
all
it.
didn't handle it well.
And that's the thing about all that too, is we all did have to go through a big, global pandemic at that point, and it almost makes it easier for us to kind of sell the idea and how people would act and react to certain situations. The world of Avalon, we kind of elevated a little bit more people are attacking each other and biting each other and all that crazy stuff with it. But with all that stuff that we've all had to deal with a couple of years back, it makes it a little easier for us as the writers to kind of show that, like, okay, look, this is honestly what happened back then. So this isn't too far-fetched that people would act a certain way and do certain things to kind of get, whatever they want or love or need and all that kind of stuff going forward. But yeah.
Uh-huh. And it's crazy that we have this interview today because I just saw a video. I think it was from the author of Station 11,
Okay.
and he was talking about how he is interested in these post-apocalyptic narratives because I guess again how we would be able to handle something like that as a people,
Yep.
and how which way is it going to go as far as our behavior, and how a lot of us would choose I guess grace at some point, and love and
Yeah.
community, and versus, in the beginning, it's violent, it's chaotic, it's every man for himself, but eventually, you do adapt and it becomes a new normal, and you try to have some way of maintaining humanity in a way, or trying to regain it. So will we be seeing some of that in this, or is it, I guess, the time frame of it is too small because it's still all within the same day?
Yeah, within the two issues, definitely not. It's still trying to figure out all that stuff and kind of making sure what you have around you and what you love around you is safe, and nothing else really matters at that point. And you kind of get that idea reading the first three issues that's kind of the direction we're going with it. And what you said was well said as well. I do think like humanity would kind of move to that kind of nature, especially in this world as time goes on. As soon as they think they have at least a grasp a little bit on survival, then after survival comes community and sanctuary, and then after all that stuff is built up, then you want to try and spread love and start bringing people in and try and making what we used to have and bringing it back into this chaotic world that we have now. But I think what you said was well said.
Mhm.
And I think it's definitely a direction that we're going to consider in the future.
Okay. What have you noticed that's changed about Avalon that you weren't expecting? Like maybe the art style, storylines, maybe a change in collaborators, or even like an uptick in readership from the initial three to these last two?
Yeah, I think almost all of it in different, a little bit of all of it in different ways. Especially with the artwork, obviously that was more so issue 1 to 2, and then so on. If anybody has read issue 1, they can kind of tell the art style is a little bit different. It's the same artist, but he's evolved just like our writing has evolved and the story has evolved and all that stuff too. That's what we find. That's why I'm a big indie comic reader myself. Like I'll go out and grab indie comics, and I just like to see that progression and getting better with writing and art and all that good stuff going forward. But that would be the obvious one where everybody can literally see it. But the writing, it's fun, because we just added another writer for mostly season 2, but she helped a little bit towards the end of season 1. Her name is Callie Oberlander, and to have her, because she has a lot of experience in kind of writing feature films, short films, and in kind of that film industry. And she has a podcast that focuses on mental health and all that stuff as well. And I thought it was perfect to see if she would want to come along for the Avalon team here, because a lot of what season 2 is going to be focusing on is the mental health aspect of it. Is we've kind of given those little sprinkles throughout season 1, issues 1 through 6, of that we're going to be focusing a little bit on it, but season 2 is going to be a really focused point on the whole mental health aspect of everything.
Uh-huh. Also, I wanted to ask, why is it set it's in Erie, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
And not like in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, or because like I'm also an author, and my stuff is set in Baltimore, Maryland, which a lot of people wouldn't be expecting. They're expecting like DC or New York City or something like that. So why in Erie, Pennsylvania?
first and foremost, it's familiar. We live in Erie and we're from Erie as well. It's a very familiar thing. When we were doing this, we wanted to try and bring as much familiar things as possible into this project because we were new to this thing. We didn't want to do too many things that were out of our reach, especially just getting into this kind of game right here. But and then another reason too, Erie has that eerie kind of feeling. You know what I mean? Like somebody said it's kind of like a Raccoon City kind of town. It's not big, it's not small, it's just kind of right in the middle there. And there's a lot of things that we could utilize here in Erie, like the lake and how like the outskirts of Erie, like northeast, you got places like Waterford and all that stuff too that are kind of outskirt. Like you have the city, and then you could have like the outskirt kind of towns, like the little in the woods and all that good stuff. So there's a lot to utilize here. And another thing as well, another point to that is we're right in the middle. We're like right in the middle of the triangle. You have Cleveland, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh, right in the middle there. So there's many directions we could go. And it just seemed like a no-brainer for us because it doesn't seem like it's been used quite a bit, Erie. And I feel like there's a lot of like history here and a lot of things to utilize here as well. So we thought Erie would probably be the best.
Uh-huh. So you've mentioned some of the collaborators that you're working with right now for season 1 and then on to season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So how was the process of collaborating with these other creators on Avalon? How did you know they were the right people to work with?
With Alan, I met him before we even decided to do this thing. So I was friends with him beforehand. And then when we decided to go the creation route and try to kind of make our own like production label and all that stuff, and then kind of because I had this idea Avalon before it was called Avalon, and he had this stuff like, with music and stuff like that. So we wanted to kind of collaborate in that way. And then Avalon was going to happen a little bit faster than the music. So we decided to put more focus on this to get it out and then kind of disband a little bit there. But so with Alan, it was really easy, because having the friendship already and kind of all that stuff, we already understood each other. Dimitris, that developed over time, and I'm glad where our relationship is at now. He's from Greece, so a lot of our conversations is done through Messenger, which is crazy to me that we've been working together for a few years here, and we've gotten to a point where we understand each other completely, and it's only been through like Messenger and maybe a few Discord meetings as well, but. Callie, it was easy as well. It was easy. I met her at the Erie Horror Fest when we were promoting Avalon there, and she was easy, easy banter back and forth. We were talking and having a good time there. It was a 3-day event. I talked to her all 3 days. And then after I heard her podcast and all that good stuff, I asked her to be a part of it. And it's been nothing but easy for us, and I think that's the important part, is just to make sure you can vibe with somebody, click with somebody. It's just easy to have conversations with them, and I think that's the key to it. And I've been very fortunate to have all these people part of this team.
Were there any instances where you may have hired someone already or was thinking of hiring them and then like it just didn't work out?
The only one would be like an artist before Dimitris, way back then, but I wouldn't even blame it on the artists per se. It was more so like when we had the original script of issue 1, it wasn't the one that you read or anybody has read that's out right now. It was one that Alan and I kind of reread again, and it was horrible. We couldn't believe that we were actually going to produce that and get that out there. So we pulled that back and we apologized to her. I paid her for the pages that she's done and all that good stuff, but it was kind of like money loss on our end, but for good reason. We noticed that issue 1 was very compact with all the stuff that was happening. All the stuff you saw probably with issues 1 through 3 that are out right now were all compressed into one issues, and we figured that would be a bad choice. And I'm glad we went this route and kind of expanded it, because these first 3 issues that we have right now, we're really happy with.
So what advice would you offer to other creators you wish someone would have told you when you first started?
I guess just kind of keep going and keep doing what you're doing. You have a vision, you have an idea, kind of just keep going through it. Things are going to be bumpy along the way. Like I knew they were going to be bumpy. Not that I thought making a comic would be easy per se, but it's definitely harder than I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense. Like, again, it wasn't supposed to be, I didn't think it was going to be easy, but it's harder than I thought it was. And not just so much about the scripting, it's everything that comes with it. It's kind of managing everything. It's the scripting, it's the creativity, it's making sure you know what you're doing in the future, kind of keeping everybody in the group as a team together, the marketing, and kind of being busy on social media, because, in this kind of industry, the indie industry, you have to wear many, many hats. So I guess it would have been nice, I guess, for me to know somebody was already in it, to be like, hey, this is all that you got to do. I mean, not that it would have changed my mind anyways, but it would have just been a nice kind of like disclaimer coming into this kind of business right now. But
Yeah. So outside of working on Avalon, like you have all of that under control, Alan, Dimitri, and Callie coming in, like you have a solid team
Mhm.
and you got this together. But like outside of that, how well do you balance your life? Like, and how do you typically manage your mental well-being when you become stressed, frustrated, or overwhelmed?
It's still something I'm still trying to figure out, because like the comic that we've been doing right now, it has its overwhelming factors and all that stuff, and trying to get this out there and trying to find the crowd that is going to follow, Avalon. I have people that I want to try and build like a good fan base that actually like wants to buy this and continue to come back and kind of invested in the story and invested in the artwork and all that stuff too. So it's trying to find those people that are there and want it every single time we come out with it, and really trying to find that fan base for us. And so it's just perfect things, like trying to remember to go outside, go for a walk, relax a little bit, don't focus so much on trying to sell every do everything in one day, kind of have a plan stretched out rather than being like, okay, today's today, I'm just going to go balls to the wall basically with trying to get everything out there. And but really trying to focus on family time, walking, exercise, just doing your things and your normal day things before you even did all this. But I think it's still trying to figure it all out to a T, but I think it's starting to get there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So is there anything else that you want to touch on about Avalon that we may have missed as a whole? Maybe discuss rewards for potential backers?
Yeah, I mean, just simple, like Avalon it's not your typical kind of zombie story. We do follow little things like we take the little things away, like we're not following a hero's journey. We're following the whole castle family. We're following this world that we're creating, and all the characters that we're going to meet in the future. Is everybody's a main character in their self. We want to make it so anybody can pick this book up and relate to any character. So there's not going to be really some sort of focus on a specific character. It's going to be everybody, mostly obviously the castle family. It's just not going to be an individual's story arc that we're looking at. But really focusing on the realism, on the mental health, the real life physical ailments that people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, take medications for and all that, and really trying to make the world feel as real as possible.
Yeah, I like it when there's, something like this, but is try to be as realistic or based in reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, like you said, people who are dealing with their own issues, they have to take medication,
Mm-hmm.
or, what I liked in The Last of Us is they brought up like Ellie when she starts menstruating, stuff like that. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like someone like me who menstruates, how am I gonna continue to do this? Or like someone who wears glasses, how is that gonna work? If I lose my glasses, I'm screwed,
Well, right. And that's a funny thing, Ty, the middle brother there as well, that's why we purpose, he has glasses. Now, obviously you don't know at this point, like, is he like as blind as a bat, or is he, just wearing glasses just to help him a little bit, or what's going on here? But like, that's why there's certain things, and kind of like what we put up on the Kickstarter as well, that Mason has an inhaler. You could tell he has some sort of depression or anxiety as well. And, Andy, you will kind of see that kind of flesh out a little bit as well. And the new characters you're about to meet will have other physical ailments or illnesses that complications, I guess you'll call them, that you're going to find out in the next few issues as well. So again, like to kind of reiterate the point that anybody can pick this book up and anybody can relate to it. That's kind of our main kind of focus as a writing room, and trying to figure out where we want to take Avalon, is kind of making it open for everybody. It's not going to be secluded to a certain fan base or anything like that. Zombies, kind of like how The Walking Dead did it, but zombies are almost secondary to this. You're really focusing on the realism in the characters and how they have to deal with their personal issues in an end of the world scenario, like kind of like how we kind of had to do a couple of years ago, where things were not being put on the shelves as fast as they should have been, and some people were getting sick, and some people needed medications that weren't getting to their pharmacies fast enough. And so it's just kind of elevating that point a little on the next level, probably 3-4 levels up, and really trying to see like again, where the question comes, how would I survive in this apocalypse? That can be for anybody who picks it up.
Yeah. Are you attending any cons this year as a vendor, and where can people find you online?
Yeah, we'll be at for sure right now. We will be at the Cincinnati Comic-Con. We'll be at the Erie Comic-Con. We go to local areas to kind of do like meet and greets and all that stuff as well, book signings. We're gonna hopefully get into the Erie Horror Fest again. We put in our application for that. We're still trying to get other applications in for the summertime and really trying to expand our kind of radius there. And you could find us on any kind of social media platform. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Now I caved, I broke. I'm on TikTok now. But all the ones that you find on social media, we have a link tree that's tagged on it as well. You can find us anywhere and everywhere on the link tree as well.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank the creator and writer of the comic series Avalon, Brandon Starocci, for joining us here today to promote issues 1 through 5, now live on Kickstarter. All of Brandon's socials and website, as he just said, will be listed in this episode's details alongside the Kickstarter link for those who are interested. Again, I am K.S. Garner, and you've been listening to the Solo Nerd Bird Podcast. Thank you.
See ya.